welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This week we read Parashah Beshalach, and this reading contains many significant narratives which demonstrates Hashem's love for the Jewish people. Like it's undeniable. We see that's a miracle after a miracle. Forget already the 10 plagues he produced in Egypt, so they would let us go free. In this parasha, we read about the splitting of the Red Sea. We read about the manna falling down, the food, the miraculous food that sustained the Jewish people for 40 years in the desert, and also the miraculous victory of the Jewish people over Amalek. They won that war, they were not destroyed. And we see also that the Jewish people also show favor towards Hashem in this parasha. We see that they sing the famous Song of the Sea. This is why this Shabbat is called the Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of Song, in which the Jewish people, after crossing the Red Sea, the Yam Suf, and they're healthy and they're complete, they sing to Hashem praises of greatness, of gratitude. And it's a very, very powerful acknowledgement from the Jewish people towards Hashem. And we see that it was so great that they were even able for a common person to attain prophecy. So, but anyways, even though we see all these wondrous natural events going on, the name of the parasha really is very contradictory to what we read in the parasha. The name of the Parashah Beshalach, which means he sent forth, it's talking about that the Jewish people really didn't want to leave Egypt. They were very comfortable there, even though they had been slaves for 210 years. We have to understand that when the plague started, 6 months later, the Jewish people were set free already. They were not slaves anymore in the land of Egypt. They lived in the land of Goshen, which was the richest part of the land, and they became very comfortable people. They had their yeshivas, they didn't lack food. They lived in a very nice place, and they became very comfortable. In a certain way, this sounds very, very something that we could relate to, like Jewish people living in exile, living in the diaspora outside of the land of Israel. We come and we live in different places of the world, and we feel comfortable. We make a living, we have our beautiful homes, we make Jewish schools, we have yeshivas, we have shuls, we have a Jewish life, and suddenly we become very comfortable. So this is what this name of this Parashah Beshalach really, even though it sounds negative, really in truth, it is. It's telling us that the Jewish people would have never left Egypt if Pharaoh wouldn't have told them to get out. So describing Pharaoh as the agent of the Exodus, he was really, even though he was so bad, we know that he's the agent, he's the one, he's the facilitator that made it possible for us to get out of Egypt. It points to one of its purposes and alludes to our ultimate mission within creation, which to highlight this factor, God told Moshe at the very beginning of the process of redemption, with a strong hand, Pharaoh will drive them from his land. So he had to almost throw us out of Egypt. Like he threw us out of Egypt. He said, leave. And it was in such a haste that the Jewish people didn't even have provisions to live. They had to just, the bread, they didn't have time to rise. They just put it in the oven, and they had to eat this matzah, which we eat on Pesach to remember the Exodus. And we see that they left in a haste. They left like in 1 minute. So for the intent of creation is that this material world and all of its elements be transformed into a dwelling for Hashem. So the whole purpose of God creating a material world where we are is that we should make a dwelling place for God in this world. And this includes even those elements which at first would oppose the forces of holiness. So sometimes we're confronted in our lifetime, I wouldn't say sometimes, most of the time we're confronted in our lifetime with opposing forces that don't make it easy for us to make a dwelling place for Hashem in this world. For example, in the United States, it's very easy to be a kosher Jew in New York. Maybe not in Milwaukee, but there's certain places where being a God-fearing Jew is much easier than in other places. Like, you cannot find kosher food. You have to, like in Colombia, for example, if you're very, very frum and you would have Halab Israel milk, then you have, in the olden days, today you can get it, but I'm telling 30 years ago, the rabbi had to go to the farm and watch the milkman milk the cow, and he himself had to take the milk with him, and he himself had to boil it. So there's places where you just walk into a grocery store and the milk is there in the fridge, like it happens to me now, and thank God, Baruch Hashem, I have it easy. There's other places where it becomes even harder. So the whole intent of creation is to make a dwelling place for Hashem in this world, and as opposing the forces, the more opposition you find, the harder it is for you to eat kosher, the bigger is going to be your merit. So ultimately, every aspect of being will serve a positive purpose. So in certain cases, as with Pharaoh, a transformation is necessary first, and we see that in the original state, such people cannot serve a positive purpose. So we see Pharaoh. What good can you see from a guy like that? There's nothing enlightening about such an evil person. So here what it says is that their destruction is their purification. So when he threw the Jewish people out of Egypt, and then he decided to follow them, and because he realized he needed workers, he's missing the Jews, and his head went the other way, and he went after them. The whole purpose was so Hashem could finish him off and finish off the Egyptians. So the purpose of the destruction of the ancient Egyptian culture was the source of their purification. So this concept is highlighted by prophecies of the times of the redemption, which say, "And I will rid the land of dangerous animals." Our sages interpret this to mean the animals will be transformed so that they will no longer cause harm, as it is written, "The wolf will dwell with the lamb. In the era of ultimate good, predators will continue to exist." So the wolf will lie right next to the lamb, and he's not going to eat the lamb. Because what's going to happen is that the negative tendencies are going to disappear. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be any wolves. There's going to be wolves, there's going to be lions, there's going to be all these things. But the negativity is going to disappear. So God's intent in creation was not only to reveal the unbounded spiritual light within the material existence. It's not only to elevate the sparks of holiness within the material existence. He would have not ever created a material world if this would have been his only intent. The truth is that God's desire is that every aspect of existence becomes part of his dwelling. So he wants that the good, the bad, the gray, the black, everything becomes holy. It's a transformation towards holiness. And just as a mortal dwelling reveals the character of its owner, every element of God's dwelling is intended to reveal the different facets of his being. So this is a little bit hard to understand because it talks about the expression of inner good within the evil. Like everything that's bad in the world, in reality, has a spark of goodness within it that has to be also revealed. And maybe in our lifetime we won't be able to see it unless Mashiach comes now. But in the times of Mashiach, that's what's going to be. The revelation of Hashem is going to be everywhere. You're going to be able to see God's hand in everything. You're going to be able to understand everything. Today we can't, we don't, because we're in exile. So as a foretaste of this ultimate state, the name of our Torah reading focuses on the transformation of Pharaoh. So that's why the name of Beshalach is sent forth, because what it's telling us is that the message is that even the most perverse elements in our life, in our existence, can generate positive influences. Like everything is good. Everything is good. It doesn't matter what happens to us. Everything at the end of the day is good. So there's a question nevertheless, that remains unresolved. And the question is, why was it necessary for Pharaoh to send the Jewish people out of Egypt? Why did he have to throw us out? Why were the Jewish people not eager to leave Egypt? This is a question. What did they have after 210 years of slavery? They went through the worst Holocaust in the history of the Jewish history. Like today, we have goosebumps with the Holocaust of our time. If we would go back to those days and we would think of what happened, it's like 6 million was little amount of people. And the babies that were killed, and the Pharaoh would bathe in their blood, and the suffering of the people was humongous. And it was for 210 years. So one might say that we had no reason to hurry out, because at the end, the Jewish people were comfortable. They were not being harassed. They were not being enslaved. They had a beautiful life. And but the truth is that they should have had a desire to leave Egypt, regardless. And our sages state that all the people who did not want to leave, which actually were 80% of them, it's mind-boggling to me that 80% of the Jewish people didn't want to leave Egypt, and they died eventually in the plague of darkness. They died. Hashem said, if they're not going to get out of Egypt and they're not going to go to Israel, to the promised land, then what's the purpose of them? I have no purpose for them. They have no purpose. They're not going to receive the Torah, and they're not going to be doing what they have to do. So they were killed. So we see here that all the Jews who remained didn't want to leave. And the 20% realized that living in exile, even amidst security and prosperity, is not the Jewish purpose. This is not why we're here. But the same way, even 20% that wanted to leave, the question is, why did Pharaoh have to throw them out? Why did he have to force them to get out of there? So the Rebbe, in his teachings, he teaches us that this question can be resolved on the basis of a parallel concept. And he says that God had promised Moshe that he would give the Jewish people the Torah. As it is written, after you lead the people out of Egypt, you will serve God on this mountain. And the Jews rejoiced. They were so happy. When they came to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, they were like angels. They were pure. And they all stood up together as one heart. It was as a one beating heart. It was oneness. It was unity. But nevertheless, Hashem, when he was giving them the Torah, had to suspend the mountain on top of their heads. And the Midrash tells us that if the Jewish people would have not accepted the Torah, wouldn't have said, we will do and then we will learn, Naseh v'nishma, the Torah, the mountain would have fallen on top of them, and this would have been their cemetery. This would have been the end of them, because then there was no purpose for them to be alive. So the question is, why did God have to suspend that mountain on top of their heads if they were eager to receive the Torah? They were ready to receive it. They said, Naseh v'nishma, we will do and then we will learn. So the point is that there are different levels of desire. And this I had to research a little more, and thank God that my husband has good contacts. He called Rabbi Katz, who is an incredible rabbi that translates all the Maimarim of the Rebbe, and he asked him for me what does this mean, the levels of desire, and he gave me a beautiful explanation about it. He says that there's different levels of desire that a person has, and they depend on how much the person needs it or it's important to him. So, for example, if a person is hungry and he wants to have breakfast and he wants some scrambled eggs, he desires scrambled eggs for breakfast, but instead of scrambled eggs, the wife made for him pancakes, he's not going to make a big deal about it, because pancakes are good too. They're delicious. They're even more in a higher level than the scrambled eggs. So he won't be upset about it. His level of desire is met. But imagine that he has a desire to eat breakfast, and if he isn't able to eat breakfast, like he has a very important meeting and he didn't have time and he has to run out and he had to go without his breakfast, he's gonna be upset. He's gonna be like, oh, I wanted breakfast, I desire breakfast, but he'll get over it soon. He'll have a muffin on the way or whatever, and he'll get over it soon. It's not a big deal. But then he has a desire to eat, and he's not able to eat for 24 hours because maybe he's going to have a procedure done and they don't let him eat for 24 hours. And so the desire of food is going to be even greater. He's going to be like thinking about food much more. But if he can eat for 3 straight days, then the desire for food switches, because at 24 hours, as much as he's thinking about food and he's dreaming about it and he's hungry, he'll survive. It's not a big deal. It's not a life-changing experience. But if it comes to be 3 days that he's stuck in a place in the mountains, he got lost, he's in a cave and he's lost and there's nothing to eat for 3 days, then this desire switches from comfort to a survival mode desire. So then he is gonna do whatever it takes to get food because he needs to survive. And that desire fills his whole being, and that's the only thing he's gonna be able to think about is food, 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 food. I need to eat, I need to live, I need to survive. So in the same way, a Jew has an innate desire to connect to Hashem. We need to connect to God. We need to. It's a desire, it's in it. It's something very strong that every Jew has. But at the same way as I just explained the different levels of desire regarding food, in our connection to Hashem, it's very similar. So sometimes a person needs that he wants to connect to Hashem, but he cannot give himself the luxury of connecting to Hashem. So he goes to shul once a week for Shabbat. But during the week, he doesn't go to pray because he has to be in his office at 8. And he doesn't want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the minyan. It's a luxury. So, okay, he doesn't feel so bad about it. It's okay. Instead of scrambled eggs, they gave me pancakes. I cannot complain. A higher level is like he misses doing a mitzvah. Like this person had the opportunity, he prays the Tehillim every day, and suddenly the day went and he was not able to do the Tehillim, and it's nighttime and he already can't do it. He's going to be upset because he couldn't do it. It's going to bother him. But eventually he'll get over it. I'll do them tomorrow. I'll do double tomorrow. So the higher level is that he feels that his connection to Hashem is his very life. And his desire to connect to Hashem takes over his entire being. So there's a higher level. This is the level in which we cannot live without God. He's the air we breathe. If I don't wake up in the morning and I don't pray, it's the first thing I do in the morning, I cannot continue with my day. It's impossible. I need to plug in. So it says here that one of the reasons for exile is exactly this, that we awaken in ourselves a deeper yearning for Hashem, that being so far away from Him makes us want to be closer to Him. This is what Rabbi Katz explained to me. It's to awaken a yearning and a need to connect, and that the only thing we really want in our lives is Hashem. All I want is you, God. This is it. I want to have you in every little thing I do in my life. So we see here that God wanted the Jewish people to accept the Torah with a total commitment. This is what He wanted from us. He didn't want us to be forced into it, to feel that we have to accept it. He wanted that we have feelings of yearning that are so powerful, that it was if our lives depended on it. Like we felt that if we didn't get the Torah, we would not be able to survive. So we were not capable of summoning up this level of commitment on our own. We cannot get to that place on our own. So God compelled us to reach this peak through external means, which was Pharaoh. He made it so hard for us in our life in Egypt that He was the one that had to push us to get to this place. So similarly, with regard to the Exodus, God wanted the Jews to desire freedom with a deeper than ordinary will, and therefore he brought about circumstances that awakened profound and encompassing commitment. So right now, we're in exile. The world is upside down. We hear all these crazy things going on. But all these forces that are opposing forces, that seem bad forces, in reality contain within them the secret of yearning for God, of wanting a better life, of wanting to be connected to Hashem, and to feel that He's our lifeline. He's the air we breathe. This is what it is. So I want to wish you a blessed week, and remember, live a little higher. Thank you.